I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Crenshaw,
Here.
Walker,
Here.
Garcia,
Here.
Altmans,
Here.
Dade,
Here.
Andrews,
Here.
Tillman,
Here.
Bryant,
Here.
Greenwald,
Here.
all present.
Mayor's correspondence. The Spirit of Keokuk Awards are coming up Friday, February 23rd. That'll be at 5 p.m. at Myers Courtyard. Tickets are available online at keokukchamber.com/events, and congratulations to all of this year's nominees. The Keokuk Public Library has programs and events happening weekly, from story times to cooking classes. You can take a look at their online calendar at keokukevents.org for more information. Keokuk Little League registration is now open for kids 4 to 15 years old. This year, forms are going digital and not being handed out in schools. More information can be found on the Keokuk Little League Facebook page or in person at McCready Park coming Saturdays this March. And continuing with sports, the Keokuk girls basketball team is going to start postseason play this Saturday when they host Fort Madison at Wright Fieldhouse at 7 p.m. And the boys will be hosting Mount Pleasant Monday evening. And congratulations to both the boys and girls Keokuk bowling teams who have advanced to the state tournament, which begins on Monday. And speaking of Monday, that is President's Day, so City Hall will be closed for regular business hours on Monday. Number 5, citizens' requests. If anybody has anything they'd like to step forward and speak about, please come to the podium, state your name and your address, and if you could keep it under 5 minutes, please.
Dorothy Cackley, 620 J Street. I just need to know if there is anything in the Iowa code, state laws, municipal code, whatever, that would prevent the city from investing funds that are held for a long period of time without being used. Can they be invested to earn interest? Anybody?
Trying to get this to work, Dorothy.
Okay.
So I'm not tracking exactly what your question is, but
Okay, my
are
reference.
you saying that if there's a surplus fund, is that what you're saying?
If there's a fund, and I'm referencing monies in the capital improvement projects. I'm looking at the treasurer's report that was published on May 3rd of 2023, showing a receipt of $5,050,755.21. That I am going under the assumption is from the bond that was issued for the improvements of the streets. And it wasn't utilized. We're still with the balance of 5,200,000 and some odd thousand in that fund. My thought is that money sat there for a good almost 10 months now. If it was received in April, it could have been earning substantial amount of interest. And then my second part of the question is, Miller Meeks, I believe, was able to ascertain like $960,000 to be applied toward the Road of Honor 18th Street project as well. I don't see where that has been deposited. Is there any explanation of where those funds are,
Yes.
if they have been
So,
received or not?
Let me answer your first question real quick so we can get under our 5 minutes. But The $5 million bond, I don't know why anything wasn't done with that, but as soon as the weather turns, the money will be spent on significant road projects that are going to be discussed during the workshop tonight.
Right.
So that's going to start soon. And sometimes, I know now it would not be beneficial to invest the money because we're going to start drawing down on it quickly. And a lot of investments are long-term. The second part of your question, the earmark from Miller Meeks came through HUD. And that is a drawdown grant that we still don't have access to draw funds off of. So that money is reimbursed once we spend it. So that means we don't have that money and we won't get it until we make expenditures and they allow us to draw it down.
So
We're waiting on HUD still.
You have to show a receipt, in other words, to get it.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Okay.
they haven't even given us access to draw down the funds yet.
Yeah.
We're still waiting on them.
Well, I guess my point is, we knew that the 5 million was not going to be accessed until the project started. And it's been a good 10 months. And it just seems to me like a terrific waste to have not taken advantage of getting some funds for something that has sat idle. Yes?
I do think some of those funds have been expensed and will have to be transferred to other funds. You know where we're
Yeah,
expensing?
so the engineering fees for 18th are expensed out of that fund. And that's like Dave was talking about, the drawdown. We will, once we get access to the 960,000, those engineering bills will be submitted to HUD for us to get reimbursed. So we have been using the 5 million just in small increments to pay our engineering fees.
Okay, but in this 10-month time frame, there hasn't been over at most $200,000
Right.
difference.
But I mean, if we were to invest that all, we bonded for it, and that bond started July 1, 2023. I don't know that it would be beneficial for the city to invest it between July 1 and then April 1, when 18th Street's gonna start.
Yeah, but you got it in April, according to your treasurer's report.
I think you said it was on the May report, Dorothy, because that's what I wrote down, the May 5th treasurer's report is when
Yeah.
you saw it. So it arrived
But it
sometime
came
in
in
April.
in April
Yeah.
to be on the May report.
Yeah, and I'll look into that because I don't know if there's anything that would take that short term. I also believe the intention was to begin drawing down those funds, but then the derecho hit and that tied up the city crews for the entire rest of the year on cleanup and repairs.
Okay.
That was before my time, but that's what I've
I
been told,
understand.
so.
I'm not trying to put you.
No, I get it. No, I'm just telling you what I was told. Thanks, Dorothy.
Anyone else with any citizens' requests? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Of quick note about the agenda, item number 13, that is going to be scratched off of tonight's agenda, and I'll let Dave Hinton explain why.
So Roquette's attorney reached out to the attorney that was retained by the city of Keokuk 2 days ago now, I think, and they were interested in working on the nuisance abatement. The attorneys are making arrangements to have some sort of inspection and make a determination, if possible, of where the odors are coming from and if there's any corrective action that can be taken. So they've canceled their appeal hearing request for tonight.
All right. So our consent agenda includes minutes of the regular city council meeting of February 1st, 2024, minutes of the council budget workshop of February 3rd, 2024, cash receipts and treasurer's report for January of 2024, a resolution approving a liquor license for Lucky's Irish Pub and Grub, 528 Blondo Street, Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service, effective March 3rd, 2024, pending fire inspection. A resolution approving a liquor license for L Trains, 1108 Main Street, Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service, effective March 15th, 2024. A resolution approving a liquor license for Hampton Inn Keokuk, 3201 Main Street, Class B retail alcohol license, effective March 20th, 2024. A resolution approving an urban revitalization tax exemption for Aaron and Michelle McMahon at 7 Cherokee Lane for a single-family dwelling. Christonia Todd, 300 Boulevard Road for a garage. Christopher and Nicole Gelati, 3359 Middle Road for garage addition. Appointment of Roger Whitaker to the Rand Park Pavilion Commission, fulfilling a term to expire November 22nd, 2026, and a motion to pay bills and transfers listed in registered numbers 5389 to 5390. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended, including the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7. Now is the time and place for a public hearing on the authorization of a loan and disbursement agreement and the issuance of not to exceed 3 million general obligation capital loan notes of the City of Keokuk, State of Iowa, and providing for publication of notice thereof. A public hearing notice was published in the Daily Gate City on February 6th, 2024. I am opening the public hearing at 5:42 p.m. Do you have any comments? Any discussion? City Clerk, have there been any written comments or objections been received?
None.
There being no further comments or objections on the matter, I will close the public hearing at 5:43 p.m. Item B, consider a resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for the authorization of a loan and disbursement agreement and the issuance of not to exceed 3 million general obligation capital loan notes. A motion to approve. In discussion. Dave, if you could explain.
So this is an SRF loan that matured September of 2023, and the initial borrow was about 2.25 million. That was from the State Revolving Loan Fund, and they contacted us, I think maybe back in January. Obviously, they want repayment of the note, so we enlisted Piper Sandler, Ehlers and Cooney, and are moving that to a general obligation.
So the original revolving loan fund, that was, I believe, was that used for the engineering of the Rand Park Tunnel?
Correct. That was a P&D loan, a planning and design for the Rand Park Tunnel. And once the cost, I've heard anywhere from 120 to 150 million, I think, at our last meeting. Once they realized the costs were outrageous, they canceled that plan. And we're moving forward with a different plan recently approved by EPA.
So then these notes would be to pay off an existing loan for a project that's already been done, even though it was just engineering, not for any further work into the future.
Correct.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, consider resolution approving and authorizing a form of loan and disbursement agreement by and between the City of Keokuk, Iowa, and the Iowa Finance Authority, and authorizing and providing for the issuance and securing the payment of $2,251,000, 240.54 cents general obligation capital loan notes, Series 2024, and providing for a method of payment of said notes, Approval of the tax exemption certificate. A motion to approve. Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, consider a resolution setting bid letting, public hearing, and award of contract for South 18th Street water main reconstruction. Do I have a motion to approve?
Who's? On that? What's the price on that?
We got a motion and a second, so now we can have a
Okay, so
discussion.
who had the first?
Steve, did you make the motion?
I didn't make the.
No, he asked a question. So
Okay.
Rosalind, do you have the first then? Okay. Do we have a second so we can get to discuss? Okay, second for Steve. All right, discussion.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. I'm sorry.
So Brian, you can speak to this a little bit.
What was your question, Steve?
On the price,
We won't know the price until we actually have the bid letting.
Okay,
This is
so-
just this resolution is just to set the dates for the bid letting.
okay, I have no questions then.
All right, I'll go ahead. I'll read the description for everybody. So, plans and specifications for South 18th Street reconstruction project are nearing completion. As part of this project, the water mains will be replaced prior to the street construction commencing. It is recommended that Tuesday, March 12th, 2024 at 4 p.m. be set as the date and time for the receipt of bids for the South 18th Water Street main reconstruction project. It is further recommended that Thursday, March 21st, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. be set as the date and time for a public hearing on the proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, an estimate of cost, and award of contract for the South 18th Street water main reconstruction project.
Okay, my question, who's paying for that? Waterworks or the city of Keokuk?
So my understanding is prior to my arrival that the city was going to pay for that cost. It's been discussed at council once before, and council suggested that we work with the waterworks for some sort of cost split. So we've met with Dave Bogner from the waterworks, and they are in the budget process. So he is going to meet with his board and ask for some input on this also.
Ask, but why is the city responsible for that water main? The cost of it?
So, per the engineering contract signed by and approved by council on October 13th, 2022, the city is responsible for paying for the design of the water main and the bidding process of the water main,
Okay,
which is what we're setting tonight.
okay,
We're still working with the waterworks on splitting the cost for the actual construction, which we won't have a hard number on until we get the bids in.
why are we splitting the cost?
Well, for one, we want the water main completed. For two, it was told verbally from the city to the waterworks that the city would cover 100% of the costs. I believe that conversation was based on the city applying for grant monies for the water and sewer. Those monies were not received. Since then, we've had a change at the helm at the city. And being in contact with Dave Bogner at the waterworks and previous city administrator, that conversation did happen, but there was nothing put in writing. So we are trying to work with the waterworks to get as much funding from them as we can to get the project completed.
I agree with Steve. I don't know that there was no direction given from council to say that we would cover the water main.
Well, so the original estimate of 18th Street has always included the water.
But
I agree with you. And I mean, the person that did this verbal agreement is no longer with the city. So I can't explain why it was made, but
The water mains is owned by the water works, not by the city. of
Correct.
Keokuk, And it's their
but
responsibility.
we also do not want 80-year-old water mains underneath a brand new street.
And when they done Main Street, the city of Keokuk did not pay for the water mains under Main Street. It was done by the waterworks. It's their way. If a new street was put in and something happened, it'd be their responsibility to fix the water main and fix whatever damage it done. So why
That's
is
fine.
the city being held responsible for the cost of a water main? It's not our water main, it's theirs.
You would
So
think it would be in their best interest to want to update it so that they don't have to repair a brand new
the only
street.
thing that I do know that we are under contract for is to hold the bid letting and pay for the design. Now, after we get the bids, it'd be up to the council to say, no, we're not paying for this, and reject the bids.
What happens if the street's put down and there's old water mains under it and something happens to that?
Well,
water
we
main?
could be digging up a brand new street in 6 months and
And
answering the
whose
questions
responsibility
from
would that
citizens
be?
of why we're digging up a brand new street, but. So just to be clear, the city is obligated to hold the bid letting for the water main per the contract that was signed in 2022.
But then it'd be our decision at that time whether we pay for it.
By that time, we'll have a hard number of a cost, and then we'll also know how much money the waterworks is willing to put towards the project. So then we could make a decision at that time.
So then you're saying that we're still going to be held for, the city's going to be responsible for some of the cost.
We could be. I'm not gonna say,
That's
That's a council decision.
City will have to make that decision.
Yeah.
right. That's all I wanted to know.
But step one is to get the bids so that we get firm numbers. Yeah.
Well, the waterworks, I understand, last I heard, pays us $200,000 a year.
that's correct.
If we got to pay for this, that's going to go up.
And I don't know what agreement that is. I'm not, I know that they do in
I mean, the
in having the
citizens of Keokuk are
conversations
going
with
to pay
them.
for it one way or the other. But if it's a waterworks' pipe, it should be the waterworks' bill to move it.
All right, any further discussion? We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, consider resolution setting a public hearing on proposed property tax levy. Do I have a motion to approve? In a second. Discussion. As part of the city's budget process, staff must prepare a proposed property tax levy. The county auditor will send out a proposed property tax levy notice to each property owner. A public hearing on the notice must be held. The purpose of the notice and the hearing is to spotlight the change in property tax levy requested. The hearing must be held as a standalone meeting with its own agenda and minutes. No other city business may be on the agenda or discussed during this meeting. Staff recommends setting April 4th, 2024 at 5 p.m. for the hearing. Any more discussion?
Only question I have is, why did we make it 5 instead of 5:30? Why not make it a regular city council time? Or is this going to be something you want to do in preceding the regular city council?
Right.
Yeah, it
This
has to be.
a separate meeting, so we can have a
You're
meeting at
just, you're just
5.
thinking this will be a preceding of a regular
Yes,
council?
yep, so
Okay.
we can do both meetings on the same night.
Okay.
Yep. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10, consider resolution approving sludge hauling contract between the City of Keokuk and LCL Farms. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Dewatered sludge produced from the cleaning digester number 1 must be hauled from the wastewater treatment plant to an approved location. One bid was received on February 6, 2024. The loan bid was submitted by LCL Farms for $150 per load. The projected number of loads is 225. The city's new sludge truck will also be utilized in the hauling. Any other discussion? Any questions for Tom? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11, consider resolution awarding a contract with Dansco Contracting for the Tolme Building renovation project in the amount of $47,326. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
In discussion, let's see. The Public Works Department received 2 quotes for Tolme Park renovation project. The low quote was submitted by Dansco Contracting of Keokuk in the amount of $47,326. The work includes removal of the ceiling, replacing with a drop ceiling, replacing the picture window with tempered glass, replacing 2 window air conditioning units, installing a new furnace, ductwork, HVAC, and installing metal siding on the building exterior. Any other discussion?
Do we have a time frame when this work will begin?
I'm sorry, Tyler, what was
Do
that?
we have a time frame when this work will begin if the contract's awarded?
If the contract's awarded, I will let the contractor know, and then they will start ordering material as early as next week.
So it'll be done by the summer months then?
Oh,
if
yeah,
it's-
yep.
Are we, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead and finish.
My only concern is, do we have room in the budget for it?
Yeah, so, it's a split budget item. There is monies left in this year's budget to pay for about 2/3 of it, and then, the remainder will be paid out of next year's budget.
What was that last part?
The remainder will be paid out of the next fiscal year's budget.
You just answered my question. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 12, consider resolution allowing the mayor to enter in an agreement with Piper Sandler and Company. A motion to approve. Discussion. Requesting approval for the mayor to execute the attached financial services agreement between the City of Keokuk client and Piper Sandler and Company, Piper. Piper is engaged by the client to provide services with respect to the conversion of SRF planning and design loan to permanent SRF debt based on repayment terms as provided by SRF. Compensation is contingent on the size of bond issue or normal value of product and contingent on closing. The fee will be calculated as $2,500 plus 0.3% of the par amount of securities issued. Compensation is payable in immediately available funds at closing. Any other discussion?
Are we doing this for a specific reason or just to be able to work with them in the future? Like for something else?
So we use Piper Sandler on all of our bonding issues. And this is what they're doing for that earlier SRF loan.
Okay.
This is just the engagement letter for them to do the work.
Okay.
They were late getting us the engagement letter, so
That's fine.
that's why it's after the other item on the agenda.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 14, council liaison reports. Any reports? Number 15, staff reports.
Tom, you had something for the EPA inspections coming up?
Yes, next Tuesday through Thursday, 2 representatives from EPA Region 7 will inspect our pretreatment and sludge programs. This happens once every 2 or 3 years, depending on circumstances. They will also evaluate our efforts in sewer separation. And although the EPA scheduled 3 days for this, it should go well, mostly due to the efforts that the city has made to get the programs up to where they should be, and plans and to move forward with the sewer separation. It's going along really well.
Pam, you have a grant update?
So if the council recall that we did a comprehensive neighborhood revitalization planning grant that was due in November. I heard back this week that the city was chosen. There was 5 communities that were chosen to submit a full application. The full application, 3 will be awarded out of that. There will be enough funding for each community to apply for the whole $1.75 million. It'll be if we do get chosen for that, it'll be like a 36-month to a 4-year contract. We can get the match, which will be a 15% match of $262,500. We can have other community partners help with the match. The more partners we have on board, the better the application will be. So we'll work on that. Applications are due May 14th. We'll find out 30 to 45 days after that. So that's it. Really
Great news.
exciting news. I'm going to have a meeting with Sarah Heacock. So if anybody wants to join me next Tuesday, the 20th at 1:30, just to kind of determine where we go from here. And then also Tarla Price with Tangles. She was asked to submit a full application for the Downtown Catalyst Grant. So that's great. And
Did you hear anything on the emergency?
the emergency they had not applied for that at this point. I think they're kind of waiting for some feedback from the state. And then I don't know if everybody had a chance or anybody wanted, Casey had submitted a vacant property update to the council. So if you didn't read it, she has 32 completed registered properties and counting. Approximately 37 have exemption status with rehab. They're rehabbing with permits. We're keeping an eye on them to make sure there's progress with them. There's 120 vacant properties that's went to court that had citations. 80 plus have had penalties of $750 plus. There's been 6 demos privately and 2 that the city has abated.
Pam, I know you had mentioned at the last meeting getting code revision together. Have you set that date yet? I know you sent an email about it.
I did send an email. I just wanted to make sure, I think it's you, Steve, Shelley, and Roz. So I just need some feedback from you guys on times that we can set that up.
And then, anybody have something else for Pam? All right, thanks, Pam. Brian has an update on one of the city buildings.
Our 212 building, which is houses the bridge department and the parks, that was damaged in the derecho and then with the significant rain event after. We started work on that into last summer in the fall and stopped because it was not being reimbursed from insurance. Bob, bridge department manager, met with contractor that had started that work last week to try to go ahead and get estimates on that. As they were walking through and looking at the damage, they noticed quite a bit of mold on the backside of the drywall and up into the insulation. That information was relayed to me. I was in Des Moines last week when they walked through it. I met with Dave, we talked about it, and we decided that not to wait on that project. It's more of a health hazard to our employees down there. So we authorized the contractor to go ahead and start removal of that. And we're just letting the council know that has started.
And they're going to get us a quote once they get the removal.
Once they get
done.
everything removed, we'll get a number on the replacement, the insulation and drywall that's gonna have to be replaced.
And there will not be insurance funds coming
No,
for this?
They denied that. When the contractor opened up the walls and the adjuster walked through, the metal studs were rusty. So that building had been leaking for quite a while. I'm assuming way before the city acquired it a couple years ago. So the insurance company deemed that a pre-existing condition, so they would not cover the damage. And then on a happy note, I guess, we are going to open Rand Park tomorrow for the public. And we've been getting a lot of calls because of the nice weather and.
Just in time for snow tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah, it's supposed to be back up to the 60s by Monday, I think, though, so.
Any other staff reports?
That's it.
New business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Adjourned.
We'll take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back for the workshop tonight.
Oh, you already asked? Okay.
All right, if people could return to their seats, please. My dad, yo.
Smack that down.
All right, time to begin the workshop tonight. All right, we've got one item on the agenda for the workshop, which is street repairs for 2024.
So you should have in your packet, the list of streets that between the Public Works Department and then the, street assessment and software that we purchased and had done last summer. Dave and I we've met with the infrastructure committee and went over this with them. We went through, the mapping on our software with color coded on how bad our roads are and what the recommended treatments were for these roads. So obviously, we all know we're gonna start 18th Street this spring. That $4.2 million was the last estimate that we received before we cut the width of the road down and before we took the water main out the full length of the project. So that should drop, I'm gonna say anywhere from $600,000 to $900,000, which will affect this list here because we will be able to add more to it. Going down the list, Tanya Street from 18th to 22nd Street, that will be completed after the completion of 18th Street. So hopefully next spring we'll start that. That gives good concrete on 22nd Street and be able to tie the asphalt into good concrete on 18th Street. West Avenue, I have already asked, I'm getting estimates from a couple different asphalt firms on it. It will hopefully start in May. Also the same with North 15th Street, hopefully just start in May. Upper Grand and North 4th, we have, those projects are over $100,000, which is the state threshold that requires us to get engineering. We have already sent out a request for proposals to engineering firms for those two projects. They are due back February 21st. Hopes being we can get that designed and that under construction yet this summer. So it'll be going on the same time as 18th Street. Melody Court, we're probably looking at more 2026 range. It's a concrete street that would have to be redone. I think I'm gonna meet with Tom a little bit more on that and see if there's something we can do with some crack sealing or something to just prolong that. Palin, same as Timeu Street, we're planning on 18th to 14th. 14th being a brand new intersection that was replaced during the sewer separation, the Soap Creek project. We'll wait for 18th Street to get finished so we have a good concrete to tie in there with asphalt. We have a couple intersections that are in pretty bad shape. That's kind of up in the air whether we bid that out this summer or wait till 2025, but those will be concrete replacements. The boulevard in Decatur is heavy bus traffic, is kind of why that, after they changed the route and came down Boulevard and turned on Decatur, it really hurt that intersection a lot. Iker and Logan Drive has just been in pretty disrepair for a long time. Our street department, we're looking at doing, as we discussed before, kind of along the lines of the haul routes for the water department. We're looking to beef those streets up this summer, but we're going to do those in-house. The plan of action is to roll in millings that we currently have to stiffen the base up out there, and then we'll come back through with a oil and chip to redo the surfaces. That's kind of what we're looking at between now and 2026. You have any questions on any?
A couple of them you said will be contingent on South 18th getting finished
Right.
for the Road of Honor. So do we have a set timeline for that particular part of this list yet?
I'm told plans for 18th Street Road project, we should be going to bid about mid-April. So that project will start May. I hope to get the paving done before the snow flies this year yet. We'll see if the engineers agree with me on that or not. Then that would make it so Palin and Tanya would be the first two projects to start off 2025 in the spring.
Do you have any more of them lists?
We don't have a packet.
We don't have one.
And it was.
Oh, it wasn't, I
This
thought it
sheet,
was
yeah.
included in the, I'm sorry.
We don't have nothing.
No, they sent us.
What he said there was packets.
Yeah.
My question on, you said on Palin Street, you're gonna do it, the underground spring or whatever it is on about 16th and Palin, is that gonna be taken care of?
We'll have to look in that when we get closer to the project.
It's been a problem for years and it needs, there's always water there. It got to be an underground spring. And something should be done to that. So
I can make note of that. We would have to probably bring in a geotech to do a boring there to see what's actually going on underneath the road.
It's definitely been a problem for years. 15th or 16th and Palin.
Brian, there was a couple of roads listed here that they're listed, but it doesn't have any description or cost estimate. Meadow Lane and Orleans Avenue.
So, correct. Those are going to be added in in hopes that we get a lot lower number on 18th Street. So when if that number comes down like I hope it's going to, that's going to open up monies for those two. And then
Okay.
we'll put them in this same time frame of the 3 years.
Okay. And then with these that are listed out, there's some that are concrete, some that are asphalt. Can you explain the process to deciding which form of repair you quoted?
We relied on the street assessment that was completed and then the software that we bought. So that software tells us what is the best, that what, it tells us what is the best product to put back on that street. And then also that was determined by us going out and driving the roads. So those streets are currently asphalt. So the process of that is going in and milling 2 to 3 to 4 inches of asphalt out and then bringing back in that much in new asphalt. And that gives you about a 15-year lifespan on those.
Okay.
Provided maintenance and everything is done on them.
So on the list here, the Palin, or the Timothy Street from 18th to 22nd. You're not, that's all of Timothy Street you're doing?
That's all that I have planned for this section, I guess, or this bonding of the 5 million.
Okay.
So what we tried to look at is around town where we've got good intersections to tie into with the new paving we're looking to lay. That way we're just not leaving it open-ended at one side with asphalt.
So you're not looking at the worst streets, you're just looking to a good tie-in?
Well, we're looking at the worst streets that have the best tie-in points, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, if you drive Timea across from Kilbourne Park, it's not in the best of shape.
And if you drive it on down,
right,
it's not in the best shape either.
But we've got to pick the roads and then draw the line on what we can get completed for the I guess the most for the dollar amount we had to throw at it.
Timothy Street's gonna be done like 13th, South 13th?
No.
Say that again.
Timothy Street gonna be concrete?
No, it'll be asphalt.
And Roger, they're just doing from 18th Street to 22nd.
On this current plan is from 18th to 22nd.
And there's one block there where they done the intersection, but they left the block from where the last concrete street.
That's up on 22nd.
So then they left 22nd to 21st. Then they done an intersection and.
So we're going to infill those. We're going to infill those with asphalt.
Asphalt.
Who made the decision on these streets?
So myself and Public Works guys, Jason, John, and Tom with the street department sat down and went through these. We made a list. I put a cost estimate together, took it to the infrastructure committee, presented it to them. They approved it, and now I'm presenting it to you guys.
I have a couple things. When we had talked to people about streets before, when we were talking with Robert, I don't remember who he had talked to, but there was like different grades of streets, and we have to remember that even like the very worst street might not be the one that gets done, because we want to save the ones that can be saved before they become the worst street, as we're saving a smaller portion. Also, I'm on Road of Honor committee. I'm very pro Road of Honor. I think that our committee is going to continue to look for grants and things like that, because I think it would be a disservice to the citizens to use almost all of the bond on one street. So I think if we can cut costs as much as we can while still having a quality road and still looking for grants, that way we can do more road projects with this bond.
So Timothy Street, you're gonna mill it down and then overlay it. Timothy Street, you're gonna mill it down and overlay it?
Yes.
You're not gonna dig down?
Sorry?
You're not gonna dig down and
We're not doing any, so none of these projects, with the exception of 18th Street, have any utilities planned with them.
that's what we done to North Fourth, and it didn't last for that.
Well, North Fourth was a little different situation. I watched them do that because we were simultaneously doing Grand Avenue, and the city guys were doing that with I believe like a 4-foot.
North Fourth was done. It was milled down and done. And then we had to go back, and they had to go back, and because the asphalt separated, and had to go back down and do the groove, and it still wasn't right.
Well, we got an engineer that's going to design it for us now, so hopefully they give us a good recommendation on the thickness of it. Because on some portions of 4th Street needs ground about 6 inches out of it because it's built up so high. If you look at 4th and Morgan, where the intakes are at. The asphalt of the street is higher than the top of the intake.
It's just pretty disappointing to me, the 16th Street, 16th and Palin's not on there.
Well, that intersection's on here.
It is?
It's on here.
Okay. I don't. Okay. Yeah.
And then if, if there's other recommendations from council, we'll always entertain them if you want to bring them to me.
Well, I guess if the project from 14th to 18th on Palin, if it's only estimated at $95,000, is that something we can get the ball rolling on sooner? I mean, do we really have to wait till after 18th Street is done for that?
Well, the reason for waiting is so you have the concrete intersection to tie into. So, I mean, that's the philosophy behind that. It's better for the asphalt to tie into the new concrete, and then for them concrete guys to try to go, and they'd have to go out farther and probably cut a new line out of that asphalt. Because it's so the intersection at Palin and 18th is designed, and it's designed with the sidewalks in mind to have pedestrian ramps built. So we have to match that grade with the asphalt from Palin coming into it, not the other way around.
The intersection at 16th and Palin, you're gonna mill that down and put 2 to 3 inches of asphalt on it.
That's what we're looking at now.
That's that's all you're gonna do.
Yeah.
You're not gonna look, see where that water's coming from.
Well, that's what I just told Steve. And I just made a note. We'll have a boring done and see what's going on underneath.
If you don't find out where that water's coming from,
You're wasting your money,
you're wasting your money.
fixing the street. Yep. And what was that? Before Roger asked you the question, you said something and I didn't hear what you said about suggestions for streets or something.
Well, if you have suggestions for other streets, I mean, you could sit there and throw a dart at the map we have and it'll hit a street that needs redone. So.
Yeah, I know. So
we've just got to start somewhere, and this is the list that we came up with of where we're going to start. I mean, if we keep going with the way the council wants to go and we bond $5 million every 3 years, this list is going to get longer and longer, and we're going to get more done.
Where are we on? How far bonded out are we right now?
I believe after all the bonding that was done in the last year, I think we're about 3 million from our cap.
Which is why we need to make this go as far as we can.
So when do you think you'll be going out to bid for all these? And only the ones that are going to tie into 18th will wait for 18th, so the city will be able to have multiple of these locations worked on at the same time.
So I've already requested quotes for West Avenue and North 15th. North 4th and Upper Grand are out for RFPs for engineering firms for the design work right now. So that's 4 of them that we're waiting on quotes right now for.
We're going to see some movement this summer.
Yes.
How long do they think that 2 or 3, milling it down, put 2 or 3 inches asphalt on there will last?
It'll give you 10 to 15 years depending on, and so the 2 to 3 inches on here is something that I put on each one of these so I could put an estimate to them. Before we do these, we will go out and core drill the streets and see how much asphalt is current there and what material is underneath the road. If it's determined that 2 to 3 inches isn't going to make a bit of difference, we'll have to change our philosophy on that street. So I won't send a company out to mill and then fill it without doing core drilling to see what the base is underneath them.
Do you know what the thickness was on Palin or the last time it was done, which was probably 15, 20 years ago?
I don't till we go out and drill it.
Okay.
But we do that in-house with our own guys. We go out and we'll drill and take the core samples out. We did the same before we did Hazelhurst last summer. We went out and drilled, took 3 or 4 quarter rails out of it to make sure there was enough asphalt to mill what we wanted to mill off of it.
Is that what they done there by the car barn? Was that 2 to 3 inches? They milled that down, and
I'm not sure. That was before my time.
that seemed to have lasted a while anyway.
Are there any next steps for the council?
I don't think so. The next steps will be, I'll be bringing quotes to you for some of these projects for approval would be hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
All right. Do we have any other discussion on the roads as presented in front of us? If not, we'll end tonight's workshop. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, we're having fun now. They're gonna put asphalt on that wet road. Remember, you can. I know it's wet.